on henchman.
Well,
Incredible.
that was
I don't know what was
interesting.
happening.
Awesome. That
But it
OP
was-
was,
but it was
so
nice.
good. I love it.
Episode 1 of Kaiju No. 8 begins with a kaiju running amok in Yokohama's several wards. The city's emergency kaiju alert system activates, and we see several officials guide citizens to safe locations to escape the kaiju's wrath. Meanwhile, we receive some back-and-forth conversations from the military officials. They discuss the kaiju's projected routes and body proportions. Several helicopters arrive and try to get the kaiju's attention by shooting it with weaponry. Through a discussion between locals, we learn the Defense Corporation's 3rd Division will exterminate the kaiju. We cut away to several 3rd Division members arriving on the scene. The 3rd Division troops and their leader, Mena Ashiro, defeat the kaiju. Then, we spot a man Kafka Hibino and his allies observing the kaiju's remains from afar. One of Kafka's allies tells him it's time to head to that kaiju's area to clean things up. After that, we see Mina and her allies walk down a pathway as many citizens praise them for their heroism. Kafka bumps into a news reporter who pays him no attention. Eventually, Kafka arrives at the kaiju's location and performs his cleanup duties. While doing so, he informs the audience that cleanup workers don't receive much praise, if not any acknowledgement. Unlike the 3rd Division troops, after Kafka gives someone a kaiju sample, he notices someone's lifting a specific kaiju organ off the ground. Kafka tells his ally to stop, but it's too late. The organ bursts, and its acidic blood drops on Kafka's ally, causing him pain. Kafka heads to his ally and helps him recover from his flesh wound. He's unsure if he and his allies will finish things within a week. Then, someone informs Kafka that he must tackle intestine duty, and he isn't thrilled about it. Later, we see Kafka lying in bed, unhappy that he had to perform intestine duty that day. Then, the news broadcast on television catches his attention. The newscaster highlights Mina's achievements. While it's doing that, we receive a flashback sequence involving a young Kafka and Mina. In it, Kafka tells Mina that he wants her and him to exterminate all the kaiju. Kafka shuts his television off. He reflects on his current job and its value to himself and society. Kafka regroups with his co-workers in the morning. They introduce him to Rino Ichikawa, a recruit who wants to join the defense force. Taku, the ally who introduced Rino to Kafka, tells Rino that Kafka had similar goals but quit. Rino confronts Kafka about it, and Kafka shares why he gave up on that dream. Rino says he doesn't plan to give up and departs to the changing room. Later, everyone arrives at the kaiju cleaning site. Their leader assigns them different duties. As for Kafka and Rino, the leader says they must handle the intestine duty. Although Kafka complains to the leader, he leaves to handle the test. The leader feels Kafka would have been great on the defense force if he'd passed its test. Later, Kafka and Reno head to a park to relax. Kafka hands Reno some tools to help him cope with their job's nasty after effects. Later, Kafka's co-workers bid farewell to him and head home. Kafka is happy that he completed his intestine-centric duty. After that, Reno arrives and thanks Kafka for his assistance. Before Reno departs, he tells Kafka that someone raised the Defense Force application's age requirements. He says many young people aren't interested in the job nowadays. Kafka thanks Reno for informing him. Before Reno leaves, a Yoju appears and attempts to eat him. Fortunately, Kafka saves Reno from becoming Yoju chowder. Kafka tells Reno to head home because he doesn't want Reno to perish and not fulfill his dream. He calls out to the Yoju, and a thrilling chase occurs between him and the beast. After Kafka jumps through a window, we enter a flashback. In it, we see a young Kafka and Mina. Kafka says a kaiju ruined their homes and their school. Also, he's upset that he didn't complete a video game called Guruman. Mina is baffled by Kafka's Guruman response and tells him she's upset that her calico Kamihiko perished. The two vow to exterminate the kaiju and join the defense force. Then, we return to the present. Kafka tries fighting the Yoju, but the Yoju overpowers him. Before the beast eats Kafka, Reno arrives and saves Kafka. Reno tells Kafka he caught in for the weapon he's using. Kafka wonders why Reno didn't flee home. Reno says a defense corporation member would never abandon someone in peril. Kafka reflects on his failures and screams. Before the Yarju hurts Reno, a white tiger arrives and attacks the Yarju. Suddenly, several gunshots go off, resulting in the Yarju's demise. Kafka turns to the side and notices Mina nearby with her comrade. Mina orders two allies named Igarashi and Takaragi to look after Kafka and Reno. Meanwhile, she and the others plan to scout the area for more Yarju. Later, we see Kafka reflecting on his encounter with Mina. He and Reno are currently at a hospital. Reno thanks Kafka for saving him and says he looked cool during their scuffle with the Yarju. He insists Kafka apply to the defense course. Kafka thanks Reno for his encouraging words. He plans to submit another application soon. Suddenly, a book-like kaiju appears before Kafka and enters his mouth. Kafka experiences something strange and Reno checks on him. Reno is startled by Kafka's kaiju-like appearance. Kafka reassures Reno that it's him and not a random kaiju. Suddenly, an old man stumbles upon Reno and Kafka. He plans to call the defense corps. Reno tells Kafka they should leave the hospital immediately. Then, we enter a flashback involving Mina and Kafka. Kafka explains why it's integral to tackle a kaiju's legs first. Simultaneously, Mina tells Kafka that she's afraid of the thought of fighting a beast that's bigger than her. Kafka promises Mina he'll be by her side whenever she's afraid. Mina exits her bath and someone informs her that a kaiju arrived at the hospital. The episode closes with Mina planning to investigate the incident with her team.